like you were hanging around for a lot of the night and then just kind of let go of the rope to start the fourth?
It's a good way to put it. Hanging around when you're not playing well is kind of a good sign, I guess. But really stood out at the end of the half, being down 5. I think Fred made the free throw. We were down 52-55, and had 3 dry offensive possessions. Selfish, kind of playing in the crowd, missing people wide open, and it got to 9. But to your point, I think without scoring the ball that well in the second half at all, obviously only scored 30 and a half. We guarded well enough to be within striking distance, 10 points going into fourth, but we weren't playing that well, and it was pretty obvious. 9 assists, playing in the crowd all night off double teams, and not making an easy read, and then defensively, kind of making up coverages as we went instead of being solid as we were, and that coupled with getting out hustled on the glass and by their role players, it's a perfect storm for a loss.
Do you think some of that lack of cohesiveness was due to some lineups that you haven't used very much, if at all, this season?
You could say some. I mean, the starting lineup, other than, obviously having Jabari out and Jeff in there, it wasn't much different. And we still, like I said, had a 4-point game from, 55-51 for 4 or 5 possessions late in the half. But, yeah, you could say some other guys being out there a little bit, but, it was a lot with the starters as well. That, Alperen playing in the crowd with the double teams, triple teams, or Jalen, Cam, Fred, those guys having 2 on the ball and not making the easy pass, or Dylan not finding somebody wide open when they're scrambling. It's not only the guys that haven't been in there. I think it was the guys that have been there and kind of reverted back to some of the things we did last year and had us inconsistent.
I think you scored 30 points in the second half. Going back to the half-court execution, what would you attribute the issues to? Is it just like a rhythm thing, or something?
No, that's what I just said. Playing in the crowd, you only have 9 assists. You're obviously not passing the ball to open people. Yeah, you miss some, obviously, but it was just 2 on the ball, not getting off it and creating an advantage. Double teams in the post, us playing in the crowd, and I would say attribute it to more to that because we guarded well enough and got stops. Like I said, they had 17 points in the third quarter. We scored 16, so you put together a normal stretch. It's a tie game going into fourth, and I just think we were trying to do it on our own.
Obviously, they came into the game shooting the highest volume of threes in the NBA. You guys knew that was going to happen. Were you surprised by how much they were able to score inside against you as well?
Yeah, it was both. As we said after the first quarter, we scored fine, 31, and they had 37, and I think they had 14, 16 points in the paint, plus 6 threes, and so they were getting them both. And late on our rotations out to their shooters, but they were also driving us and scoring at the paint too easy, and so we knew we had to correct that, and I think we did a much better job the rest of the game after that first quarter defensively. But it was can't give up both.
He scored the 14 in the first half. Did they do anything different to keep him from scoring in the second half?
I mean, they went after him once he got rolling early, but I think even in the first quarter, once he got going, they started coming after him pretty early, and making the pass and getting off the ball and relying on other guys. You're gonna have to do that, but felt like we all got bogged down trying to do it by ourselves in the second half. So they were probably more aggressive going after him in the second half, but you gotta trust your teammates.
Are there things that he can do to kind of counter that aggressiveness to where he's not getting shut out in the half?
Keep it simple and get off the ball. I mean, you see guys, especially post players, when you try to beat a double team or spin away from it, there's another guy coming a lot of times to create turnovers. And when you look at certain players, whether it's Jokic or whoever, they just make the read, whatever it is. If it's to score, they score. If it's to get off the ball and let your teammates benefit from it. So I would say just keep it simple and not try to overdo it and overthink it and hit the open man and let your teammates, kind of feast off of their aggressiveness on you. And so that, as well as moving you around, facing up and seeing things instead of kind of backing down and kind of getting blindsided with some things.
Given where you stand with Jabari and potentially Tari, how do you see your rotation looking like moving forward, at least in the short term?
Well, Min will be back, and that'll help, and so he'll be starting. We'll go from there with the others, but find some guys who have played, which other guys have, and see what works best as far as the bench guys with hopefully not a too depleted lineup. Obviously, Jabari's out, and hoping to have Tari back, and if you get those two, Tari and Amin, I think we can settle in fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.